Welcome to this visualization of castle ruins jutting out into the sea. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, relax. Relax your shoulders and your neck. Relax your face. As we walk towards the sea, excitement is rising. This is a dream vacation. It's hard to believe we're actually here. The smell of the salt sea meets us even before we can see it with our eyes. But the sound is also reaching us. Gently crashing waves, and then suddenly there it is, so blue under the blue sky with white clouds rushing along. Underfoot are rough wild grasses. Near the edge of the cliffs, the grasses give way to moss. Beautiful, delicate, lighter greens. I lean over and look closely. The mosses are spongy and soft underfoot, and yet they're so delicate, like a miniature forest. Looking ahead is an awesome sight. A rocky cliff jutting out into the sea. On the cliff stands some old castle ruins, halfway to the point, and that is our destination. Some birds swirl overhead and then drop down over the edge of the cliff. When they get towards the opposite cliff, out where we can see the cliff face reaching out into the sea, the birds are swirling, riding the updrafts of the wind hitting the cliff sides. These cliffs are rugged, an earthy browny gray. But as we near the edge of the mainland where it splits off into this point, some dark blackish rocks surprise us. We wonder how these got here. They're so different than the cliffs around and the solid rock face exposed between grasses and mosses. These black rocks are more rounded, very big though, too heavy for one of us to lift. Maybe two? We try and, oh, that one's too heavy. The smaller ones we could lift. Then looking back out and up, the castle draws us on. It is made of now browned rock and mortar crumbling away. We see at least 2 stories of open windows showing the sky through the other side. But it was likely taller than that. We wonder how tall. Climbing the rough path as we near it, we suddenly feel small. This ruin that looked so small from a distance is imposing. On this side, there is no wall for a good space. We walk up and look in. Rubble from the walls and the roof have piled up and made a new rough floor. We wonder what the floor looked like originally. Stone? Dirt? The walls around us are so thick. the space across this, what would it be called? The main room of this towering ruin feels wide, and on the other side are openings that used to be windows. Not many. It would have been dark in here, but now it's filled with the light of the day. The wind is whipping through the window from the sea. Birds are perching on the ruins, on the top ledge, and diving down the other side out of sight. We start walking around to the open sea side of the ruin, picking our way across stone and fallen stones. There are some wildflowers hidden in a crevice. We marvel at that in this rough and wild place. Here the wind is catching us much more. I'm grateful to be wearing wool, the wool sweater I bought as my main keepsake from this trip, an Aran wool sweater. And yet, with all this wind, and doubtless wild storms off the sea, and many times, this little flower continues to bloom. On the far side of the ruin, we see a path heading out. Maybe is it a quarter mile, a half a mile further on to the end of the peninsula where the cliffs drop off into the sea. As the path draws us on, we wonder who all has trod this path before us, who lived in this castle. How often did they walk out to the point? Were they watching for fishermen to come back to a village that could have been nearby? Were they watching to protect themselves from anyone coming over the sea? Or were they just enjoying the beauty as we are now? Only a few very hardy mosses and grasses survive out here, and they taper off on the sides that get steeper down to the sea. On one gentler slope, we can look down and see waves splashing up just out of sight, but the tips of them splashing up and foaming back. Offshore a little bit, there's a sizable boulder sticking up out of the shallows, and it catches the outgoing waves and churns the water in beautiful patterns of turquoise and white foam. Oh, we take deep breaths of the fresh, salt air. We hear the birds circling and calling, sometimes overhead, sometimes beneath our feet off to the sides. As the spine of this ridge grows narrower, we are reaching the end. We can't quite get to the final boulder unless we were rock climbers, so we stop on the second to last hump and look out over the sea. The air is so clear that we can see some cliffs mirrored across the sea on another island, must be. Those cliffs look even taller than these. And beyond them rise huge, dark hills. Standing here, the sense of history and the sense of awe flood our hearts and minds. And some words by Isaac Watts come to mind. I sing the almighty power of God that made the mountains rise, that spread the flowing seas abroad and built the lofty skies. I sing the wisdom that ordained the sun to rule the day. The moon shines full at his command, and all the stars obey. And thinking about that tiny wildflower, he wrote, "There's not a plant or flower below but makes thy glories known. And clouds arise and tempests blow by order from thy throne. While all that borrows life from thee is ever in thy care, and everywhere that man can be, thou, God, art present there." God is present here. He made all of this and wonders far, far greater than this. And He made us. Thank you for joining me for this visualization. Find more relaxing or inspiring visualizations to help calm the stress response on my channel. I'm Hannah of Brain Rewiring for Life.